Yeah, this is the Desire Machine by Paul Forrester, forthcoming in Analysis. And as always, feel free to ask questions along the way. My first time reading this, and if you stick around, we get to review it at the end, so you get to be part of the review. Your opinions are recorded at that time, and will be posted on the internet, so people will have an idea. But first time reading it, feel free to ask questions along the way. I don't know what's going to happen. We're going to find out. Let me know. Okay, here we go. Introduction. The experience machine poses the most important problem for the hedonist theories of well-being. Nozick imagines neuroscientists who create a machine that provides you with the simulation of any experience that you want. So we were just talking about this. Because it's like, could we make VR thought experiments? We can do that now. Could they give you any experience you want, though? Maybe in the future. And we're going to have, VR sex is definitely going to be one of the first things that comes. Phrasing. In the near future. More recently popularized as The Matrix. Fair. But it's like, The Matrix is a 24-year-old movie. It was 1999. It is now 2023. Thank you, Unreal, though. It can provide a large amount of pleasure even though you do not take pleasure in anything in the external world. Most people have the intuition that plugging into the experience machine would not be good for you. This is contrary to hedonism. Also, this can, I guess, go back to, as far as like movies go, Total Recall, good old Arnold flick. Datum, I'm old. Yeah, well, so I think most of the streams I'm in, most of them, not all of them, skew a little older. But that, like, older for Twitch, which is not necessarily old, it's just older for Twitch. Okay. But neuroscientists have recently created another machine that achieves... why is neuroscientists getting fucking... Ignore all. Have recently created another machine that achieves similar result by different means. The Desire Machine. Upon entering this machine, your desires are altered through some minor neurosurgery. In particular, the machine causes you to desire everything that actually happens. When you come out of the machine and continue to interact with the real world, your experiences of that world are very different and uniformly positive because you have a pro attitude to everything that actually happens. You feel old? That's not a bad thing always. Before entering the Desire Machine, you often had unsatisfied wants that reduced your quality of life, but with this stunning new treatment, all sources of frustration are gone. Since you approve of everything that actually happens, you lose any motivation to act or change how things are, and you slide into a pitiable lethargy. Yeah, so this is just drugging yourself, basically, at all times, and you just don't care as long as you got your drugs. So this would be like, what was it, the old lobotomies, where you get a lobotomy and they're like, yeah, everything's great. It's also, you have no higher functioning at that point. Nope, it's not drugging yourself? Oh, okay. No, it's like a perfect drug, though. It's not exactly. It changes your desires, and that's it. A bit of lethargy, you feel called out. Yeah, it's not a drug, but it's like basically you just are happy the way you are. You don't have to do anything anymore. That's sort of the drugs. The drugs can kind of do that. It's like, yeah, just give me more morphine. That's all I want. The experience machine constructs a simulated world that matches your pre-existing desires. The Desire Machine reconstructs your cognitive state to match the pre-existing world. Yeah, it changes your mind to like what things are. Oh my god, we got an AI portrait through Midjourney. Thank you, Ivan. This is new. Haven't got any other AI of myself except from Cinesemiotics. Let's take a look. Oh my god, what is this? What is this? Well, I don't look so old in this. Is this me? Oh, so this is me in front of some sort of like typewriter-ish oh no. This is like this looks like what's it called? Old style video editing machines. Hey, Ann, what's going on? Oh, did I give a Viper? Oh man, I didn't. I'm a bad streamer. Sorry, I didn't give Ivan a shout out. But you know what? We're going to give Ann the shout out today. Let's give a shout out to Ann. We'll give Ivan a shout out in a minute. The difference between Matrix and drugs, both altered reality, is that the experience is generally internally with drugs, while in the Matrix the experience is curated by a third party. That's what makes it more repulsive, even for hedonists. Fair, but like that's kind of what's happening here. They're changing your mental states, the cognitive attitudes, how you feel about things, and that's why I was calling this one more drugs. Ann is a streamer here on Twitch and other places, and does a lot of stuff, games, chatting, makers, and crafting, so is cool. to go hang out with Ant when they are streaming. Yeah. Um. Yeah. What was the prompt on that? If you don't mind saying. You said young. Okay. Yeah. I'm not that young, but like I do look like a younger than I am. Yeah, you're thinking me in a Rammstein video, but they have unsavory lately. Really, Rammstein's unsavory? Oh, what'd they do? I thought Rammstein was cool. Oh well. Photo: young New York philosopher broadcasting propaganda. Yeah, so this is the broadcast equipment. Yeah, so this is also the propaganda got the sort of the '60s throwback. I feel I got like this old style. Like you can see this like really. You don't see ties like this right now. That's like almost yeah '60s or to '70s almost. This one, yeah. Hey, that's kind of a nice tie. Um, yeah, with the what's it called? The felt jacket. Yep. Yeah, yeah, yeah. So thank you, Ivan. That's fun. Let's save this. Save. Okie doke. Where were we? We were actually looking at paper. But yeah. Unreal said the lead singer has been taking tons of women backstage, drugging and raping them per allegation, but lots of allegations. Oh, boo. Because I thought Rammstein was actually nice, but like, okay, that's terrible. Disappointing. There was a funny mashup I saw of Rammstein and Play That Funky Music White Boy. I think I actually posted it in like Aristotle's media or music thing. So Play That Funky Music Rammstein. It's a great mashup. So yeah. Hey, Tiny Spider Dancer, what's going on? Yeah, yeah. They're not nice. Okay. Yeah, yeah. Okay, well, alright. So, again, I'm one of these people that has always had to separate out my art from the artist. So, like, because philosophers are generally terrible people. But, like, yeah, it's disappointing. You kind of hope that maybe, like, they're crappy, but they're not that crappy. What's up, Tiny? Yeah. Okay, so basically the desire machine changes your desires, that you're living the exact life you like, or you had, but now you just like everything, as opposed to maybe being unhappy with certain things in your life. Yep. Okay, so yeah, the experience machine constructs a simulated world, so that's the matrix, and then that matches your pre-existing desires. The desire machine reconstructs your cognitive state to match your pre-existing world. The experience machine is the problem for the hedonist theories of well-being. The desire machine is the problem for desire satisfactionist theories of well-being. One experiences pleasure, but one's desires are not actually satisfied in the experience machine. So desire satisfactionism correctly entails that one should not enter, and hedonism incorrectly entails that one should. But upon entering the desire machine, one's desires are actually satisfied, and one thereby experiences pleasure. So hedonism and desire satisfaction both incorrectly entail that one should enter. Yeah, because it's very weird. Because if you're always okay with thank you for the shout out to Ivan Neal. Anyone who doesn't know Ivan likes to chat some like philosophy and science and like rationality. So good stuff. And a lot of people here know Ivan. Raided in earlier. I thank him again for the raid. But like yeah, so give Ivan a follow if you have not already. The YouTube channel Andy Renfeld's variety show has a bunch of alt versions of songs. Oh, thank you for the 100 bits, Tiny Spider. There's a lot of bits today going on. Thank you for the 100 bits. Appreciate it. Alt version songs such as Bossa Nova version of Du Hast. That's kind of fun. Du Hast Mädchen, Bossa Nova stuff. That'd be good. Yeah, but that like I said, if you search for Play That Funky Music Rammstein, that's a great mashup. Okay, yeah, so the idea is that on the theory that you want your desires met, you should enter the desire machine because then all of a sudden your desires are always met by your life. But again, no one wants that life because you're just sort of pitiable at that point. Yeah. No, I mean, that's entirely fair, Unreal. Like, if you can't, most people aren't like trying to completely separate stuff out, like especially when it's someone alive and acting right now. It's easier when it's like, you know, someone way in the past and you're like, well, all right, but like we're just gonna still take the theories like in terms of philosophy. But like maybe they should have known better, but they didn't, and it was a long time ago, so somehow we forgive that. But yeah, but it's harder when it's like here and now. And that's a good question, why? There's a question why temporal or physical distance should matter to ethics, and that's a hard question for both consequentialists and deontologists. Why should like saving a life matter more when it's right near you versus when it's farther away? Because like both of them would say save a life, and it happens to be someone like, you know, dying of malaria in Africa. Why didn't you go buy them a net? Well, they seem to be out of time and space. And then there's also theories, well, why does it matter like if the earth is going to explode, and like if we can't stop climate change, it doesn't really matter what we do because there won't be anyone in the future to experience the bad stuff, and so then it won't matter because it's sort of out of our temporal range. It doesn't matter then. So there's some weird questions about that, and there always were. But yeah, that's separate to this stuff. Why does time and space matter to ethics? It shouldn't, but, you know, kind of does. Okay, so, but in this paper, the author considers the question of whether one should enter the desire machine. The sense of should that they are interested is prudential and objective. When we think about whether an agent should enter the desire machine or whether it would be rational for that agent to enter the desire machine, I will use these locutions interchangeably, so that should or rational are the same here. All we should consider is the decision's impact on the agent's well-being, holding everything else fixed. Likewise, we should consider whether entering the desire machine would actually be good for an agent, not whether the agent's evidence indicate that entering the machine would be good for her. Viper says the answer depends on third party, kind of like that bystander effect. Yeah. It's like, yeah, this is the thing. Like, but why should like third parties matter? But like that's the thing. There is a bystander effect. You're absolutely correct. And so it's like, but why? The question is, if our theories don't account for that correctly, then what's wrong with our theories? And like, why is that a counterexample to our ethical theories? Dilution of intent. Good point. So then you have an intent argument against basically the other theories, because if the intent matters, then you're not actually making an ethical argument. And so it's like maybe you have a counter argument to some kinds of consequentialists or deontologists, because they are saying, well, you have to follow the rule, but if the rule doesn't take enough intent into the account, then maybe they have a problem there. So that's the thing. It's like, why? If you have to work in time and space into ethics, that makes it hard because then the rules don't seem as general anymore. And so it's a good question. Okay. With this sense of should specified, it seems clear that one should not enter the desire machine. Entering the machine would not be good for one. And they have a whole thing here about explaining what that sentence means. I mean, again, if you just become pitiable, but you have all your desires met, how bad is that? Okay. Yet desire satisfactionism entails that one should enter. According to that theory, having satisfied desires is what makes one well off. There are two ways to have satisfied desires: to make the world conform to your desires, or make your desires conform to the world. And this is one of the questions about Stoicism. In Stoicism, they say, hey, look, as shitty as the world is, you can change your mind to be okay with how you are. So you are conforming your mind to the world. That is that is a mental version of this desire satisfactionism. So if you're a Stoic, you have to change your mind to be okay with your life. And you may think that this is actually, you could put the Stoic angle on this paper. The desire machine takes the latter route, leaving one with many satisfied desires and, according to desire satisfactionism, well off. I will consider how desire satisfactionists might avoid this result. First, I discuss the phenomena of change of desire, of which the desire machine is a special case. Second, I consider coherence-based norms of rational desire change. Finally, I argue that introducing a substantive account of fitting desire is the only plausible solution, but that this response requires abandoning pure subjectivism about well-being. Ivanio says, well, yes, but Stoics would only apply that to the stuff they cannot change. I guess in the machine, anything can change. Yeah, well, you're just changing your mind to the stuff that you can't change, and then everything else you're okay with anyway. So yeah, I mean that's fair, but like again, it only matters when you can't change it, and then you have to change yourself to be okay with it. But that's fine. So yeah, I agree. But like, it's not a big deal. I don't think that's going to be a big deal here because they're going to be okay with that. Okay. If I got you wrong, let me know. I may have got that wrong. The problem, change of desire. Our desires change a lot over time. This much is an empirical fact. As they age, people gain and lose desires that are appropriate to their stage of life. Children lose desires to be astronauts when they grow up. Screw you, I still would want to be an astronaut. Young parents gain many desires that they did not have as childless young adults. Older adults lose desires they had when they were younger. Gaining or losing a capability changes what desires people have. There is much discussion of the empirical phenomenon of adaptive preferences, which occurs when someone changes their desires when their old desires are impossible to satisfy. You just realized the Voight-Kampf was not for you? The vomit comet or the Voight-Kampf test? I'm not sure what that is. Or maybe there's a Voight comet and I don't know what that is either, but okay. So are we talking about the vomit comet? Ah, yes, okay. I thought you were talking about like the AI test from Blade Runner. The Voight-Kampf test. Yeah. Okay, vomit comet. Yeah. See, that's the thing. Once you realize you don't like roller coasters, then it's like, all right, you thought it was cool, and then you're like, nope, not really. Well, that's a good question. Then you can just talk about why you learn something or you experience something, and then you have different desires. Given that our desires change over time, the question arises of whether this is a rationally evaluable phenomenon. Could one have reasons to change what one desires, or is change of desire something that just happens to people? Compare desire to belief. Our beliefs too clearly change over time, and change of belief clearly is rationally evaluable. Epistemologists debate how to rationally change their beliefs in response to new evidence. I will assume that change of desire is also rationally evaluable. Yeah. Vomit comet. The question then becomes, what are the norms for change of desire? There are two incompatible lines of reasoning that both seem attractive. The first has some appeal but ultimately does not work. The second is what leads us straight into the desire machine. A good name for a song? What? Vomit Comet? Vomit Comet's been around. That's a phrase, I think, at this point. Yeah, it's I think it's has to do with roller coasters. Am I wrong? Or I think people have also referred to it as like anything that goes really fast and can like get your stomach upset. Okay. Yeah. Lots of stuff I haven't heard. The first option is that changes of desire are evaluated with respect to the desires the agent has before the change. This thought has clear motivation. Suppose that you are making a decision that would change what desires you have. This, like any other decision, should be evaluated using expected utility theory. Oh, that's what it was. That's right, Vipers. The Vomit Comet is a plane that goes into free fall, simulating zero gravity. Yeah, so you just start dropping. But that's also why it's roller coasters. There's roller coasters that just drop too. Yeah. I think there's a specific machine to train astronauts that spins around multiple axes and they get them to use it. Oh, Vomit Comet is a zero-G for flight astronauts. Aha. Okay, because I definitely saw a Vomit Comet roller coaster. But yeah, that makes even more sense. That like that's what they called the thing to train astronauts. Yeah. You kind of want to try it knowing you'll feel terrible. I mean, I like roller coasters. I mean, I always liked them as a kid, and I still like them as an adult. So I wouldn't have any problem trying it. I might vomit, but like I'd love to try that sort of thing. I mean, it's like I'd like to go to outer space. I'm hoping by the time I'm older that like the commercial space flights come down enough that I'll be able to afford to. So it's also the nickname for your penis. We're not going to get into that. I mean, you're free to expand on that, of course, but TOS. Okay, so yeah, this person is just using expected utility theory. Do I have highlighter? I do. Okay, so they're just using expected utility theory if you want to discuss, whatever it is. That's how you make your decisions. So this is a utilitarian theory here. It just is. So they're doing expected utility theory. Utilities must be assigned to states using your current desires and probabilities must be assigned to those states using your current beliefs. In particular, states in which you do not have a desire D are assigned a utility D by D and your other desires. But what expected utility should I assign to the state in which I have coffee in the morning but do not want coffee in the morning, given that I want coffee in the morning now? How do I delete posting messages you regret? I mean, I can time you out. That might remove you as a moderator. Let's see. Let's see if I can do it. I don't even know if I can do this. See thread. Is that how you do it? No, that's not how to do that. Let's unpin. Unpin this message. Is this how you do it? There we go. Oh no, that's not how you do it. Unpin this message. It's this one. That's, oh shit. I kept misclicking because the chat was moving. I'm sorry. I'm way too happy with myself at the moment. Alright, we will take that down. Okay. Keep the chat moving. Yeah, sorry about that. Yeah, I kept clicking on the wrong thing. I was looking at the wrong spot. Okay. Yeah, there is some way to, I clicked on it and then like there was some way to do stuff, but like I don't know why. Oh, here we go. Let's see. Can I actually delete this one? Oh, I don't know if it came out. Let's see. Okay, I think it's already off the thing. Ew, I think it might be gone. All right. Let me see. Okay. I just wanted to try that. Sorry, chat. I haven't futzed with the things in a while. Yeah. Well, I just wanted to try it out. Sorry if you didn't want it deleted, actually. So there we go. I figured it out. I don't think it worked the first time I clicked. I think something had to load. Like, it was weird. Yeah. Alright. Okie doke, whatever. It seems that low expected utility must be assigned to states in which you have different desires. A desire that P is the kind of thing that has a tendency to cause you to bring about P. But if you do not desire P, then P is less likely to come about since you would no longer be trying to bring it about. Yeah, the right click is a little bit bizarre. I know that I must have misclicked the first time and it was like all screwy. And then chat started moving and so I clicked the wrong thing and then I ruined the joke. Anyway. From the perspective of your current desires, then the state in which you lose a desire should be negatively evaluated because some things that you desire now would be less likely to come about in the state where you do not desire them. If the above line of reasoning is adopted, it looks like just about any change of desire would come out as irrational. The problem is that even the seemingly natural and appropriate changes of desire that take place over the course of a lifetime are in fact a huge mistake. We should have never abandoned the desires that we had when we were children. Yeah, see, there's the thing. If you're just saying, look, you can only predict what you're using now for your, what you want, then clearly you should never change your desires because it's always at that time. And so we should have the same desires we had when we were 5. Problem is when you change it, when you get older, of course, things change. But you can't predict that ahead of time. Very hard to understand what it's going to be like to be older. So, in some sense, you can't use your current stuff. You have to predict what future self would want, assuming that future self is actually like somebody else in your position, but isn't you right now. There's somebody like you with further experiences, and maybe you could compare that to somebody else. But you can't just say, well, what I want now is what I want in the future. Sometimes that works, sometimes that don't. The second option is that changes of desire are evaluated with respect to the agent's desires after the change. This is forthcoming. This is new. This is a 2023 or something. Let me see if I can find out real fast. This is not what I wanted. Cancel that. Why? Fill papers. Why? Alright, I can't click on it now. It's just annoying. But whatever. No, it says forthcoming. So this is a 2023 paper, if not later, whenever this paper comes out. Okay, so you're supposed to predict how you're going to feel after you get older. So this does not have overly conservative implications like the first option, but at present the thought is underspecified. Suppose that the agent can acquire one of two desires, D1 and D2. What should the agent do? All things equal, the state in which an agent has the first one is assigned higher utility by D1 than the state in which the agent has the second one, and the state in which the agent has the second one is assigned higher utility by the second one than the state in which the agent has the first desire. Yeah, so if there's two ways you could go, whichever way that is going to say that's the way you should go. So the choice between D1 and D2 is underdetermined, but there's something that could decide between D1 and D2. If one is a more realistic or feasible desire that is easier to bring about, then arguably it should be formed. If D1 is a desire to go to Mars and D2 is the desire to take up woodworking, then it would seem that the agent has reason to form D2 and not D1 because D1 would be very hard to satisfy. If the agent forms D2, it is more likely that the agent will be satisfied, and this seems to break the tie in favor of D2. This is weird. Just because something's easier doesn't mean that's the preferable option. Maybe becoming an astronaut is feasible for you, and also woodworking is, but you might say being an astronaut, even though harder, might be more satisfying. So it's like, just because you don't know which one is going to be more satisfying, that doesn't mean you can't predict something on that. So just because being a woodworker is easier than being an astronaut, that doesn't mean you shouldn't become an astronaut, because even though it's more difficult to attain, then difficulty might have a greater payoff. So this is a little bit fast, in my opinion, that just you're going with feasibility if you're not also taking into account the expected payoffs. Not all the payoffs are the same. Okay, so author, maybe they know this. This starts us down the slippery slope to the desire machine. If desires that are easy to satisfy are better, then desires that are already satisfied are the best. Yeah, so this is exactly the problem. If you're only taking easiness and feasibility as your goals, then yeah, just go into the desire machine and be happy all the time. That's the easiest thing possible. You have to do nothing. Viper says the whole changing desires argument seems outdated, given that we can make a dynamic system that can respond to actions. The author seems to propose a virtual world based on the user's preferences when entering. Yeah, I think that's exactly where they're going with it. And this is their argument against it, that if you're going to set stuff up to the way you are now, then that's problematic. And I think that's what they're eventually going to get to, is what you just said. Yeah, so if desires that are easy to satisfy are better, then the desires that are already satisfied are the best. So this is the thing. If it's already satisfied, that's the desires now. If you could come to want everything that actually happens, this would be perfectly rational on the view that changes of desire are evaluated by the desires one has after the change. The desire machine is only the extreme case of a common phenomena, change of desire. The phenomena of change of desire poses problems for desire satisfactionists. Yeah, if you're just trying to satisfy your desires, then them being satisfied is the end game, which is the problem, because that's everything you want now, not later. They think that a person's good is grounded in the satisfaction of their desires, but when we move to ask whether changes of desire, the grounds of a person's good, are good or bad for persons, there appears to be nothing besides the amount of desire satisfactions a person has that could account for the rationality of desire change. This is what leads us to the desire machine, which gives one the greatest level of desire satisfaction possible. Yeah, this is a hedonism argument, and that's right. What's up, Lumpy? How you doing? Hope you're well. I was lurking your stream, the Dave the Diver stuff last few days, and a little bit of the Minecraft. Give Lumpy a shout out. Lumpy can get a shout out. Lumpy's a good man. We like Lumpy. I can't spell shout out anymore. Lumpy Dragon Potato. Anyone who doesn't know Lumpy, Lumpy's a chemist. Makes chemistry things. And talks, does some interesting discussions, has chill streams, making like a fantasy Minecraft world, and, talks actually politics, economics, interesting stuff, so you can have fun. And Dave the Diver, yeah, you continue off stream. People are seeming to like this Dave the Diver thing. It's kind of cool. Like, good on the developer, whoever that was, because it looks like a cool game, but it's not like the fanciest game. It just looks like a very well-made game. So whoever did it did a good job. Yeah, so we're talking about hedonism, and if you could get a machine to change you into wanting everything that you have already, would that be a good thing? That's the desire machine. So if you were just trying to satisfy your desires, you were perfectly happy now after getting like your, basically lobotomized. So desire satisfactionists need to develop an account of this phenomenon that allows them to vindicate the changes of desire we take to be appropriate, but one that also allows us to reject the implication that one should enter the desire machine. I will discuss 2 possible accounts. Gang Beasts at 3 p.m. Eastern on the 29th. Lumpy. Oh God. What am I doing at the end of the month? People have started asking me for hanging out Vipers at the end of the month. I've got like a few things going on, maybe. I don't know if I'll be able to make the end of the month. I might, but I don't know. Cognitive coherence. Okay. So Humeanism is the view of desire on which there is no standard of correctness desires must answer to, external to the agent's perspective. In this respect, desire is unlike belief. Hume himself infamously eschewed even coherence-based reasons to have one desire rather than another. 'Tis as little contrary to reason to prefer even my own acknowledged lesser good to my greater, and have a more ardent affection for the former than the latter. And this is why people like Hume. Hume knew how to have a good time. It doesn't matter if you only like it a little bit. You're allowed to only like it a little bit. Have at it. If you just like it a little bit or you like it a lot, it don't fucking matter. You don't have to explain yourself. And this is why Hume was cool and people liked hanging out with Hume. And Hume didn't actually hang out with a lot of philosophers. He hung out with other people. Lumpy says that my political sociological views, I hope, well aligned with the greater good, but I am not formally trained in those topics, so my views arguments are sometimes naive. Thankfully, I have well-informed educators in the community. Fair enough. I'm very naive about lots of stuff. It hasn't stopped me in the past. You find out. Sometimes you get smacked down a little bit, but that's okay. Yeah, so Hume actually knew how to have a good time, and he wasn't trying to explain why he liked some things a little bit and other things a lot. He says it doesn't matter. And that's why Hume was more fun than a lot of these people. More moderate Humeans have posited that the only norms of rational desire change derive from the coherence among one's desires. Here are some examples of plausible coherence-based constraints on desires. Viper says, I'm the best moral educator. Just do the opposite of what I do. Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, would be happy. Yeah, what do you would be happy doing? Well, it doesn't matter. You can be happy. Okay, so you should be coherent. So one should not desire a thing and desire its opposite. One should not desire something that one knows is impossible. If one desires something and one desires something else, then one should desire both of them. So you're doing a little bit of logic. If you want P and then Q, and you should want P and Q. The person should desire to take the means to her desired ends. Okay, you try to get them. And one's object level and meta desires should be in alignment. One should not desire P and desire that one does not desire P. Yeah, you kind of want to desire that what you want. And then not be like, well, I shouldn't want it, but I do. Because that's annoying. Okay. No problem, man. So desire satisfactionists could argue... I hate this. Fucking... Ignore all. Could argue that change of desire is rational, if and only if it conforms to these and other similar constraints. Yeah, these are kind of some general structural things. You shouldn't want something and not want it, because then you're breaking logical style rules. Even if like it's okay for you to want something and not want it. But you know, it's like people also, I'm not entirely sure. Like people want stuff and then they don't want it for different reasons. Like you might like gay sex, but you might not like gay sex because you have religious opinions against it. And so it's like maybe it would be better if they were more coherent, but like maybe it's not necessarily the best thing to even say that because, you know, the social forces against certain things may misalign with your personal stuff. And especially with things like, you know, being gay. Nothing wrong with being gay. Now, if you have a problem with like maybe you want to murder people and then you think society would look down on that, maybe that's a good thing that you don't murder people. But like there's other things that, you know, like who cares who you fall in love with, like as long as they're consenting adults. And it's like, so like there's things there that I'm not even sure that like this sort of one should not desire P and desire P. It's like even that might be, you could fight against that. I'm sure. I am 100% sure they have considered this sort of example in the literature, but I'm just saying even this might not work. Lumpy says, I had quite the day. Big up and down at work. All is under control. Just lost a few hours and had to repeat a procedure that went tits up. That's annoying. And then went to a restaurant for my dad's birthday. Went to a large family eatery. Service was lame. Food was subpar. Will not go back. Oh, that's so depressing. You go someplace you're like hyped up and then it's like, boo, terrible. Oh, sorry, Dance. Thank you again for the follow. Hope to see you around. Thanks for, I hope you had a good time. Yep. And just so you know, like, we have a bunch of philosophy friends. If you don't know the people on the list, of course, our buddy Ivan's on that list under Science and Rationality, but our buddy Aristotle, he's another philosophy streamer. Evolve Yourself, that's Agni. He does some philosophy, also does some chess. He's a chess instructor and he does a lot of guided meditations on stream. There's Ask a Philosopher. They stream, once a month or whatever. Oh, thank you for the follows. 6. And then we've got Anne here. Shane McGinnis also always deserves a shout out. He does history and sociology. And then Kali Oxenfree, if you're on like the technical side of things, she's a linguistics streamer. So so Kali is really cool. She streams on Sundays, although she's going to be away during the summer a lot. And Lumpy's there as well. Viper says, I looked up the author's Phil People profile. He looks like he really wants a desire machine to satisfy socially unacceptable desires. Yeah. Welcome in, 6. 6-1 dude. Okay, cool. Yeah. I should call you 6 on E dude. Maybe that's the way to go. If you have a preferred thing to be called, that's fine. I was just going to call you 6. But like 6 on E dude is kind of fun also. Yeah. Yeah, let's see. That's a good point. We could do some mugshotties on philosophers. He don't look bad. He looks fine. I mean, sure. Oh, wrong button. There we go. Here, Texie, so that works. C. Sonny Duday. Yeah. Yeah, minor attracted person. There was a case of that not that long ago where someone was arguing for it, and then it turned out they were, abusing kids. That has happened in philosophy. You can look that up. It was a few years back. 6 yes, exactly. 6 Zone Duday. Yeah. So. Yeah, what are you doing here, 6 on? How'd you find us? Me, whatever. You don't have to answer. It doesn't matter. It's just like interesting how people come in. I haven't seen you here, so. Anyway, the whole point was that, like, yes, there's things that you shouldn't desire for good reasons, and then there's things that you shouldn't desire because society says they're bad, but they're not actually bad. Hey, awesome friend. Thank you, friend. Yeah. But, like, again, like I said, some things are okay, some things ain't. Whatever. But again, just because you want to be coherent, that doesn't even mean that's like in terms of your desires. It's all the things that society says you're supposed to do. Again, like we were talking about Martin Luther King Jr. He wanted, people to be treated better. Society did not, like the United States of America told him no. And so it's like, if you're in that society, things are not going to be coherent. I wish I didn't desire to watch more dash cam videos, but exactly, like watching train wrecks is kind of fun sometimes, and watching car accidents kind of fun, but it's like, yeah, would it be better if you had everything aligned? I don't know. That's the thing. Can we have this meta level desire that actually you do know what's good for yourself? I think that's part of the issue in this paper, is that you don't know what you want in the future. I mean, you kind of know what you want now. You might not actually know what you want or what's good for you right now. So it's like, yeah, coherence again. They're just, I like it. They're really close to a lot of good ideas, and it's not a bad paper. Like the way they're going about this makes sense, but like you can see, there's just a little bit of wiggle room here. It doesn't actually. It's not like it is a complete theory here. You probably shouldn't send your review to the guy now that I said that. Okay, look. Vipers has lots of ideas. Some of them are better than others. He means no harm. Like, if you see this author, we're not out to get you. All right? Like, it's fine. Like, just because Vipers did not like your picture, it's okay. Like, Vipers, are we literally going to have to delete all your messages from going forward? You're starting to get, like, worried about stuff. Oh, dear. Yeah, Vipers, don't change. We're not asking you to change. The way your desires are formed right now is perfect. We love you right the way you are. Your desires are fine. To say whatever you say in chat, it's good. Okay. Yeah, so desire satisfactionists could argue that change of desire is rational if and only if it conforms to these and other similar constraints. In particular, they could argue that a change in desire is rational if and only if it moves one closer to conative reflective equilibrium. Conative reflective equilibrium is a state which mirrors its cognitive counterpart, described by Goodman, Quine, Rawls, Lewis, and many others. It is a state in which one's desires are maximally coherent and free from internal tensions. Again, this comes down to one of these, like, okay, yeah, if you're lobotomized and you're just happy being lobotomized, then that's good. But again, it also seems like something you don't really want in the end. So just straight coherentism isn't a great idea. 8 plus 8 videos. What is this? Unreal. Should we look at this now or later? This is just a, this is, the bridge that eats trucks. Okay, this is your car accidents. I'm sure they're great. Okay. Could desire satisfactionists use the notion of cognitive coherence to avoid the implication that one should enter the desire machine, though there are no substantive constraints concerning which desires one should have, form or lose? This idea is the very core of subjectivism about well-being. Should have, form, which desires one should have, form, or lose. There are constraints deriving from the coherence among one's desires. It is rational to change one's desires in ways that move one's overall web of desires towards reflective equilibrium. These changes are essentially modest, and the rationality of each of these changes has its basis in one's current desires. Entering the desire machine is a much more substantial change than incremental changes that the coherence approach recommends. The desires one would get from the desire machine, though they may be in cognitive reflective equilibrium, would not be a coherent extension of one's current desires, and as such, one should not enter the desire machine. Police activity channel is also great. Oh yeah, those are fun. Lumpy says the bridge bar has dents in it. It has battle experience. Yeah. There's a low bridge on my way to work, and somebody with a truck full of refrigerators hit it, and refrigerators were all over the highway, and oh my god, I was stuck in traffic for 2 hours. I want to murder the person. You hope no one tells Ivan about Moto Madness or Dirt Bike Lunatic. Don't do that. Don't tell him about that. Everyone be quiet. This is exactly the point, Vipers. Okay. Author has 3 concerns about this proposal. First, the analogy between cognitive and conative reflective equilibrium is not perfect. You see, the authors set this up. They knew what they were doing here. On most models of cognitive reflective equilibrium, the process is one of revising one's beliefs in light of new information about the external world that one gains through a learning experience. Observations can be rejected if they come into acute contrast with one's previous beliefs, but there is at least some source of new data driving how one's web of belief evolves over time. It is unclear what the analogous feature of a cognitive model of reflective equilibrium would be. The input one gets from observation is what ties models of reflective equilibrium to the world. Without this constraint, it is not clear how a cognitive model of reflective equilibrium would work at all, since it would have a quite substantial free parameter. Yeah, exactly. How do you actually know what to eliminate in your coherence of desires, since the desires aren't going to line up with things in the world? Vipers doesn't care. Yeah, too many big words for Vipers. I'm sorry. Yeah, well, basically the author just said, look, if you're trying to make all your desires cohere with each other, what are you actually going to eliminate? How do you know which one is the one that is bad to eliminate? Yeah. There we go. Now we got the little dancing chick. So Dorsey develops a view of cognitive coherence that includes an account of what he calls value data that constrain cognitive reflective equilibrium. His account, so trying to get everything to cohere about your desires. His account differs somewhat from what I just sketched. He construes the things which are to be brought into cognitive coherence as evaluative beliefs, not desires, and his aim is to argue that the evaluative beliefs that survive a process of reflective equilibrium are those that are relevant to the individual's well-being. It's not the big words, it's, I am smart because I've dreamed up an imaginary machine whose properties and capabilities happen to prove my argument exactly. Yeah. Oh, yeah, Lumpy's desires, I take it like, that should have been posted before Vipers, but yes, I'm okay with that, Lumpy, if that's what you want. Okay. Yeah, that's fair, Vipers. This is coming up with a machine that, is useful in philosophy, but that's what a lot of philosophy is. That is what the trolley problem is. The trolley problem is deontologists making crap up about the consequentialists. And so that this person is making up a machine to talk about, desires. So, not for you. That's all right. It's the way a lot of stuff are, not your desire. Newcomb's problem, yeah. Oh. See, now I blank out on things because I'm streaming too long. It's getting to 2 hours. Okay. Yeah, so value data are judgments about the quality of life based on actually experiencing living that life. Yeah, so can we actually put hard data to our desires? Oh, the 2-box thingy. Oh, yeah, that's right. Freaking 2-box thing. Always 1 box. Yeah, shut up, you making up your own fucking rules and then moving the goalpost. That was an annoying paper we read. Should that we read an annoying paper on Newcomb's problem. That's entirely right. Viper says trolley and switches were existing tech. This is so we can imbue it with whatever properties you want. Yeah, but do you like talking about the we love also talking about teleporter malfunctions too. So teleporter malfunctions are future tech. So it's you can't you can't bop this person boop because they're oh, you're using future tech. We love the teleporter problems. So it's that's not even fair. I can get that this is a bit navel gazing. You're 100% right. This is a bit navel gazing in the desire literature, and that's what I think you're really getting in on. They made a machine to talk about some somewhat narrow area of philosophy, and then they're making their argument about that. Yes, you are correct. Okay. Unfortunately, Dorsey's value data are not the kind of thing that could prevent one from choosing the desire machine. A life in the desire machine would certainly be judged to be better by the person who lived it than an ordinary life, but this does not mean that it is better. More importantly, each person has access to exactly one value datum, which is not sufficient to guide rational changes in one's desires over time. Yeah, because if you're there, you like the stuff, and that's your life then. Teleporter tech also exists outside the imagination of the philosopher analyzing it. Okay, so that's a different argument. Yeah, so this one is all talking about your mental states. So that's fair. This is talking about mind stuff. But again, yes, but again, sci-fi where they're making up tech that we don't have yet. So it's one is changing our mind and our desires, and then the other one is changing our position. You might think the one that changes our position instantaneously to other places is more objective or real, but again, now we're arguing sci-fi outcomes. So yeah, you might like that sci-fi better. And weren't you the one that said everything sci-fi? Second, coherence alone cannot justify the changes in desire we take to be appropriate. My current desires are hardly a coherent extension of the desires I had when I was 5 years old. The change is just too substantial for the former to be a more coherent version than the latter. This large change in desire is not a failure of rationality on my part. Indeed, it is perfectly appropriate. The coherence approach is unintuitive in other respects, since in general, coherence-based standards are too easy to satisfy. So, someone who has no desires has a perfectly coherent set of desires, but we rightly judge it would be better for a person with no desires to gain some desires. Likewise, defective desires that fit into a defective web of desires can be justified by those other desires. Stalin's formation of a desire to send his enemies to Siberia is appropriate given the rest of his desires. Coherence alone, even if it solves the problem related to the desire machine, is inconsistent with our intuitions and creates problems elsewhere. Why, did you make teleporter stuff, Lumpy? You're well, how did he know I did that? Third, there are two distinct questions we can ask about both the desire and experience machines. Ought one to enter it, and is one's well-being higher in the state in which one enters it? The coherence-based approach only allows us to say that one ought not enter the desire machine, not that one's level of well-being is lower in the machine than it is on the outside. One ought not enter it because doing so would leave one with desires that are not coherent extensions of one's current desires, but a life that is lived entirely within the desire machine has a higher level of well-being than one that is lived entirely on the outside because of one's desires are satisfied in the former and not in the latter. Driving a wedge between rational requirements and well-being, as the coherence-based approach does, is itself highly problematic. What, especially from a subjectivist perspective, could make it that the case that one is prudentially ought to do something except for considerations related to one's own well-being. I submit that we should aim for a more robust response to the thought experiment, one that also allows us to say that one's level of well-being is not higher in the desired machine, not just that one should not enter the machine. Okay, I'm getting a little annoyed with the author too. They spent a lot of time on an example that they just knocked down. So it's like they were saying, oh, coherence, and then they were just like, no, coherence sucks. So that you're fair. That's a little bit annoying right there. But we only got like 3 more pages, so it's not terrible. A little bit annoyed with them going on about that, but that's fine. No, but these sentences are so depressing by virtue of the repetitiveness alone. I know, I do not love their writing here. Look, this is what's getting to me. Completely agree. Like, I don't think it's a bad paper. I think it's like they could have been at least a third shorter. Viper says, no, I mean that both trolleys and teleporters have examples with set properties. The philosophers didn't design them. This dude's desire machine is designed by him to prove his points. One could think of other ways to design a desiring machine, like you could slip on something on to simulate eating when you're hungry, or on one that disrupts the signal to the brain telling you that you're hungry. Yeah, that's fair. Oh, bye and have a good stream. Okay, so you're saying this they've fine-tuned their desire machine too much. That's fine. Yeah, and this is what they did. Look, this is the setup of the argument. It's not, as far as philosophy goes, I'm not like giving them, I don't want to give them a lot of shit. Like, this is a fine way that philosophers write papers. It's navel gazing. It's designed to talk about the discussion in the literature, and it's fine-tuned to the current academic literature, which is okay. If you want to get a paper published, you write about what's going on. So, hey Globus, how's it going? How's your stream today? I was lurking a little bit earlier, but too many things going on to sit around and chat. Like, yeah, if you could make something like a desire machine, you're absolutely right, Vipers. You'd make it more interesting than what this person's saying here. They have kind of gone to the extreme, and that's what we've got here. We've got an extreme case. It's mostly still like on par with what you might make to if you're going to make a machine that just makes our life, makes you enjoy your life the way it is, but it is also designed, as you said, to, you know, make philosophical hay. So, hope you're doing well, Globus. We can give Globus a shout out. Globus is also a streamer. Globus talks a lot of AI. That is not how to shout things out. Oh man, I'm losing it. I had a rough week. I'm sorry, people. Okay, so yeah, go check out Globus content. He's cool. But yeah. So yeah, alright, so let's see. We got, 3 more pages. Let's find out what this person concludes. Like I said, it's maybe not the most popular paper, but it's not like bad philosophy here, as far as academic philosophy goes. Fitting desire. I want to suggest a modification of desire satisfactionism that allows us to provide a more robust response to the desire machine. The key change in perspective is that this approach requires thinking of desires just like other intentional mental states, like belief, fear, admiration, envy, etc. These other states have standards of correctness. To use an increasingly popular concept, they can be fitting or unfitting to their objects. Oh, why? This stuff annoys me. This is like not the author's fault. Again, not the author's fault. Oh, what'd I just do? Damn it. This is not the author's fault. But, where am I? I lost my spot. Where'd we go? Yeah. Misclicked. Why is this? I'm sorry. I don't use this. Okay. Okay, where am I? Here we go. Did not want to do that, but yeah, so fitting is not fitting or unfitting. This people bastardizing Wittgenstein is what this is. There's a concept in AI called wire heading. To maximize happiness, the AI could connect device to your happiness center and either trigger it or just crank it to 11 cells like this desire machine. That's exactly what it is. That's exactly what we're talking about. So, the Globus never sleeps, yeah. So, this is like the thing. This is basically what the person's saying. And should you choose to, have this thing at all times, so that your life, the way it is already satisfying all your desires. So, okay, I didn't always call it, it had a name in AI, wire heading, but that's what this person has made. They've made the wire heading thing. So yeah, and this is just, okay, so we've got standards of correctness, and we're calling it fitting or unfitting, and this is just more people fucking up Wittgenstein, but that's all right. That happens all the time anyway. Fear of X is fitting if X could harm you. Admiration of Y is fitting if Y is admirable, and belief in Z is fitting if Z is true. These attitudes have standards of fit because they are representational. They can represent their objects either correctly or incorrectly. And for those who care about Wittgenstein, he had a picture theory, and so what he was saying was that language pictures world. So if you got your language, like the world is like this, and you've got your language like this, and they match up perfectly, then it is a good fit. And then he had a nice argument in Philosophical Investigations, which shows which is a fucking stupid idea. I feel like I sound like Agnew with it, but it's like a fucking stupid idea, like in Chicago, because this is what people are misunderstanding Wittgenstein. But anyway, this is where these ideas go back to. I think they do, at least. Okay, these attitudes have standards of fit because they are representational. They can represent their objects either correctly or incorrectly. Yeah, you've made a correct picture of the world or incorrect picture of the world. It's a picture theory of reality. It would be surprising if desire lacked standard of correctness, though all of the other attitudes which are similar to it have standards of correctness. Desire is just like beliefs have content and represent their content as being a certain way. Desires represent their content as being good. Okay, so now we're having a fucking representation of the good. Isn't that weird? Why would you actually have a representation of the good? But yeah. This is a marked departure from Humean view of desire, on which any desire is just as correct as any other. And this is why you should stick to Hume and not fuck up Wittgenstein. Damn it, people. And again, not the author's fault. I mean, it's their fault for using it, but this is a thing in philosophy. Here's the final piece of the puzzle. A satisfied desire gives you more well-being the more fitting it is. On this view, it is not necessarily the case that the satisfaction of unfitting desires gives you no well-being. This is because fittingness is a gradable property, and it may be that no desires are maximally fitting or unfitting, though some are more fitting than others. The more fitting a satisfied desire is, that is, the more desirable the object is, the more well-being one gets from the satisfied desire. Okay, so this is saying basically, don't love the one you want, love the one you're with. If it may not fit perfectly, but it's good enough, and you'll be satisfied. And that's kind of what's going on. That's the fit. Love the one you're with. You should not enter the desire machine because many of the desires that one would get from the desire machine would be unfitting. They're saying, okay, it's just going to make you fit anything because that's what you have. Since one's well-being is a fittingness weighted sum of one's satisfied desires, even though one has more satisfied desires as a result of the desire machine, one's well-being is lower because fittingness weighted sum of one's satisfied desires is lower. It is clear that desiring everything that actually happens does not increase one's level of well-being after one's desires are adjusted for fittingness. One will come to desire all of the injustices that occurs in the world, for example, upon entering the desire machine, but this is not the kind of desire which could give one well-being, even if satisfied. I've got major problems with this. Major problems, because the fittingness, they've defined it at the time you're going in. And so they just made the fuck up that they said you shouldn't do before of desiring things at like how you were when you were younger. You can't define what your desires when you're younger are because you change when you're getting older. But they just defined fittingness at the time when you went into the desire machine, and so they just made the mistake that they said don't do, a few pages earlier. So this is going downhill, and their fault was doing the fitting, using fitting theory, which was a bad idea. But anyway. More generally, one will become extremely apathetic upon entering the desire machine, never forming a desire for things to be different from how they actually are. As such, one will never undertake any projects or strive towards any goals. These desires for stasis and complacency are not fitting. This is why one should not enter the desire machine. Viper says, exactly, making a property to suit their argument. Yeah, I completely agree, but I think they actually fucked up worse. They fucked up their metaphysics, and then they resulted in that. So they fucked up two things. and the making of properties was a result of it. Which is this right here is never. Where was it? They just said it. Yeah, these desires for stasis and complacency are not fitting. And see that the fitting they made it. That's kind of what it is. They made up the property of fitting to work out right here, and that's not great. All right, let's just finish this up then. It is important to note that this response constitutes a departure from pure subjectivism. By introducing the notion of desirability, a property that things have when it is fitting for one to desire them, we are committed to a standard by which desires can be assessed that is independent of an agent's actual desires. However, this is only a partial departure, for the standard in question need not be independent of all facts about the agent. Introducing the notion of fittingness is consistent with the agent relativity of the evaluative properties in question. Something can be desirable from my perspective, fitting for me to desire, but not desirable from your perspective, not fitting for you to desire. For example, it is fitting for my dog to desire to eat dog food, but is not fitting for me to desire to eat dog food, so the dog food is desirable from my dog's perspective, but not desirable from my perspective. Desirability is agent relative. The theory that results is objective, scare quotes, is in the sense that there is something independent of an agent's actual desires by which they can be assessed and which partially determine how much well-being the agent enjoys, but is not objective in the sense that the standard in question is the same for all agents because it is a mind-independent property of the object of desire. This, I contend, is a level of objectivity that desire satisfactionists should be willing to adopt in order to avoid the catastrophic implications that one should enter the desire machine. Yeah, it's objective in the sense that, like, there's a fittingness, but then it's mind independent what fits and what doesn't. But again, they've made this. This doesn't fix the problem that they're defining fittingness at the time they enter the machine. They still haven't accounted for changing as you grow. Okay, finishing up. Author has argued that desire satisfactionism faces a problem analogous to the main problem facing hedonism. Indeed, entering the desire machine is arguably worse than entering the experience machine. The person in the experience machine is pitiable because of their circumstances in which every meaningful thing in their life is based on false pretenses, but the pitiable thing about the person in the desire machine is the kind of person they have become as a result of entering the machine. Our intuitions are sharply opposed to the claim that entering the desire machine is good for one, and I argue that desire satisfactionists do not have the resources to resist this conclusion. They may try to offer an error theory about our intuitions and embrace the result that entering the machine is good for one and all, like some hedonists have in the case of the experience machine, but ultimately abandoning pure subjectivism may be a more fitting response. Okay, so in the end, they're like, all right, look, they were arguing against the subjectivists, and they kind of made their argument, they kind of didn't. Viper says, if you read this as just the author trying to talk himself out of his minor attraction, the desire machine, it totally works. Just saying, no, I agree. This is, let's get the review up. So everyone now in chat, feel free to use an emote for review. So, for example, Brain Dance, if you type the name is on the right, don't type like the one on the left. The little b and then the big D. It's like, did this have some fun ideas? Did you think this was a fun idea? You can also put the yay and the nay in if you just want to give the generic yes or no on this. Tindarius said no. I'm going to give this this is a lot of style, but I thought it failed in the end. That last argument I was annoyed about. So we're going to get some golden turd here. They tried to do some fancy arguing, and it didn't work out. So it didn't back away from its claims. It made its claims. I just don't think they were good. I think they were crap. So this is getting a golden turd from me. That's a nog turd. It's a navel. Yep. Viper's got let's give it 2 nog turds. Let's give it a navel gazing. Nog navel. Give it 2 nog navels. And the worst part was I don't think it was a terribly, they did not a bad job on this. So I'm going to give it a nog knife for their argumentation. It wasn't great, but they did a little bit of slicing and dicing earlier. And we're going to give it a nay. We're going to vote nay. So that's what we're getting. I'm pretty close to Vipers. The shrivel up, I mean, maybe you're right, Vipers, on this. But yeah, That's the problem. It started off really good. I thought it started off like well argued, and then the problem was they fucked it up, and it got navel gazy and crappy at the end. And it's the worst part is, it's not a bad philosophy paper. This really isn't that bad. The problem is it's just too navel gazy for me. And yeah, we finally agree on a paper. Like the problem is this isn't bad academic philosophy. This is good academic philosophy, because in this area, I bet this is actually a oh yeah, when everyone agrees. It's true. We don't always usually agree. Hey Frank, what's up? What's going on? You once had a conversation with someone about a pill that made your experiences more meaningful for an hour, and they said they didn't like how artificial it was. But my take was that it made more meaningful to be able to choose which things are more meaningful instead of letting your body choose pseudo randomly. Yeah, so like that's the thing. Like, is that making you smarter for an hour? Like you understand meaning better? Then it wouldn't be like, then you'd just be smarter for an hour and like, okay, it'd be like one of those like brain pills that makes you genius or whatever. And so you'd understand things better. Maybe that wouldn't be so bad. If it's just making you think that it's meaningful, then it would be artificial and a little bit fake. But like if you actually had the magic to be smarter for an hour and then like have to sleep for 2 days, maybe that wouldn't be so bad. Like you could be like, all right, I really need to focus right now. And then, you know, I might have to sleep for a few days, but I'll have the results. It'll be sort of like, what's it called? A risk, like, you know, a risk you were willing to take. So Viagra, exactly, Vibers. You take drugs, you have the experience, and then you have to, like, you know, recover. But, like, maybe you are willing to take a recovery period if, like, the payoff is good enough. That's fair. But, like, again, that's cost-benefit analysis on this. But this paper here, and remember, everyone here, if you're in chat, you're free to give a review, whether you liked it or not. It's up to you. Not going to flame you if you're like, no, it was kind of cool. Because this wasn't, like I keep saying that, even though we disliked it, it's not a bad philosophy paper. If you were in this area, I bet they'd be like, this is a good philosophy paper. Vote nay. Vote nay is capital V. Sorry. Unreal. So either you can fix it or I'll fix it later if you want. Okay. Yeah, cool. Frank says, or at least it's no more fake than any meaning. I don't know. Like, it depends what the pill actually is doing. Like, does it make them experiences more meaningful, or does it just, you know, make them feel more meaningful? Because if it's only feel more meaningful, then it's like, well, then you're just on drugs. And like, you're not actually learning anything. But maybe you do. Maybe that's what you want. But again, yeah, no worries, Unreal. I just don't want it to. I don't want to be capturing any old text. I mean, I could, but like, do I need the Viagra erections are more meaningful comment to be in the review stuff, and then I have to edit that out later? No, I just want to be make things simple. Although, to be fair, if you write stuff with one of the emotes, that will get saved. So like, if you write like vote nay and then like this paper was garbage, this paper with garbage will get recorded along with the vote nay. So you can leave extra comments if you actually want to. I'm still kind of deciding what to do about that. But yeah, like I said, not my cup of tea, but not bad philosophy. Okay, so that's about it.